Welcome to the Vol Bros. My name is Evan. This is my brother Rustin, and we are two Vol Bros who are actually bros in real life. And we are inching ever closer to the kickoff of the 2024 football season, which we found out today. Tennessee announced today that they will be donning their smoky grays, the volunteer state themed smoky grays, for the opening kickoff. And so we'd love to hear your opinions on that. I'm going to give you mine right now, even if you don't want to hear it. So, I'll get Rustin's opinion in a second as well. I am not a fan, honestly. I do like the smoky grays this year. I do like those. They grew on me. I wasn't a huge fan of the single stripe on the helmet, even though I know it represents the single stripe on the side of the Tennessee state flag. I'm assuming that they are doing the smoky grays, the volunteer state smoky grays, for the game against UTC because it's an in-state school. However, I've waited 8 months to see the Vols play football. The first time you see them run through the power team, first game of the season, you want to see orange jerseys. I want to see that orange and white running through the power tee for the first time all year. That's what you want to see. So I do like the smoky grays. I just wish they weren't the first game of the season. There's just something about hearing, like, okay, I invite everybody to hearken back. Let's stroll down memory lane just for a second. I believe it was 2014. We opened the season that year against Arkansas State. It was either 2013 or 2014. One year we opened against Utah State. One year we opened against Arkansas State. That year against Arkansas State, actually, right where I am right now, there used to be a TV on the wall behind me before they put these shelves in. I watched Joe Tessitore give maybe the single greatest opening call of any Tennessee football game I've ever heard. He starts talking about the pride, and he's like, when you see the pride of the Southland marching band form that famous power tee and it splits and the Tennessee Vols come running through, you are swimming in college football pageantry. I mean, I was ready to go, man. Like, I was like, hearing that, I was pumped up. And there's just something about the first game of the season. You've waited all year for it. And you get to see him run through the power tee in that orange and white. It's something special about it. And we're not going to get to do that this year. They're going to be in the smoky grays. So let us know in the comments your thoughts on the starting the season in the smoky grays. Like I said, I do like the smoky gray uniforms. I just wish it wasn't the first. I mean, I'm wearing a smoky gray hat. I didn't even plan that. I just wish it wasn't the first game of the season. Rustin, what's your thoughts on the starting the season with smoky grays?
I almost wonder if it was dictated by the rest of the schedule, because if you go to the UT website, they've got all their promotions for the year listed. So, they're not going to do anything for Kent State because it's already a 7:30 game. Like, they know that. So they'll just wear normal orange and white for that. They're not going to break out something special for them. The Florida game is probably going to be a night game. I wouldn't be surprised at all. They've already said they're going to check Nealon for that one. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they break out dark mode for that. So probably going to see the black uniforms for that one. The following weekend.
Before you move on, if they do that, that is a massive statement from Danny White, because Danny said 2 years ago that they will only wear their traditional uniform against their traditional rivals. So if they bust out dark mode against Florida, then they're saying that's not a rivalry. So that would be a big deal if they did that.
I think timing will prevail over all of that, but that's just me. The next week is Alabama. They're not going to wear something off.
They will 100% wear orange and white.
The following weekend is Mississippi State, and they've already announced that's homecoming. So they're going to wear orange and white for that. Then they've got UTEP at home. They're not going to break out something for that because that's probably going to be a noon game. And then they finish with Vanderbilt at Vanderbilt. So actually, that's not even at home. So really, the only options they had for the smoky gray and the all black were Alabama, Florida, and UTC. So That's why I think we're going to see the black uniforms against Florida.
We very well might. We might. Folks chiming in here. Sean, welcome, buddy. Good to have you. He said, "Good evening, bros. Go Big Orange." Absolutely. Sean,
Man, how far has Mississippi State fallen when we choose to use them for homecoming instead of UTEP?
yeah, for real. Absolutely. Sean said he likes this year's smoky gray uniforms better than last year's. I agree. Totally. 100% agree with that. Mississippi Vol, welcome, buddy. He said, "Good evening, guys. Good to see you back. Or good to see you got back and had a safe trip, Rustin. I appreciate that very much. We're happy to have him back in Tennessee now." James, welcome, James. He said for the kickoff, the first game against UTC, they should have done orange helmets, orange jersey, and orange pants, all orange everything. I'm surprised we actually haven't seen that uniform combo yet. I think it's coming, but we'll see if it happens this year. Like Rustin was just saying, I don't know if there'll be an opportunity for that this year, but that's a great. But it's going to happen sometime. Tyler said, "Welcome, Tyler. Good to have you, buddy." He said, "Rustin spot on. Schedule dictated this decision to start the season with Smoky Grays." Vols Time said, "Welcome, buddy." He said, "Brew McCoy looks like a tank. The Smoky Grays look better at night, I believe." That's a good take, actually. I like that. That's a good point. James said, "Black uniforms for Kentucky Halloween weekend."
Yeah, so that was my mistake. I skipped over that. Here's the reason I don't think so. Initially, if you look back 2 months ago, I called that a blackout night, but now I'm rethinking that because they named that Champions Weekend, and Champions Weekend is when they bring back alums and honor a bunch of different championship teams from the past. And typically, when they do that, they wear orange and white. So that's why I don't think that's going to be a blackout night anymore.
Vols Titans 8, welcome, buddy. He said, "Black for Kentucky, our usual funeral attire for them." Herb said, "Welcome, Herb. Good to have you, man." He said, "Orange probably be for Bama. I'd say do an orange out that game, all orange everything." I understand that totally. You might see orange pants against Alabama, but even that I think might be stretching it because Danny White did say 2 years ago that we will only wear our traditional uniforms against our traditional rivals. So I'm expecting to see white helmets, orange jerseys, white pants against Alabama. I'm expecting to see that same thing against Florida and probably stormtroopers against Georgia. If I had to guess, I'd say that would be the uniform combo for all three of those games. Let's see here. So that's topic one taken care of. Rustin, any last thoughts on that before we move on to our second topic? We got 4 things we're going to talk about tonight. Second topic is our special teams. Anything else before we talk about them?
I just hate it that they're having to do this for a UTC game at 12:30 kickoff.
Yeah, it's 12:45 kickoff. How weird is that?
Yeah, which really means SEC Network's picking it up at 12:30. It's just the kickoff happens at 12:45. I just hate that we're doing that for that game.
Yeah. I totally get that. Vols Time said they could let the players vote on what uniforms to play in. They could for some, but they're like Danny White said, there are certain games that they know what they're going to wear for certain games. So we've done position preview shows for the offense. We did one for the defense. All we have left is special teams. I don't foresee this taking very long. We'll start with the fun part of special teams, the return game. I do think it's important to note what Mike Eckler said. Was it last week he was on the presser? I think it was last week. Somebody asked him about the returners, and he was glowing about Squirrel White. He was gushing about Squirrel White as a punt returner. Yeah, Tyler said it was last week that he was on the presser. He mentioned Squirrel White first. Then he mentioned Boo Carter. So based on that, And he did make this statement, which I thought was incredible because he did praise D. Williams as well from last year. But he said we're even better this year than we were last year in the return game. Now that's huge. That is a big time statement because D. Williams was a threat, man. He was a threat every time he caught the ball back there. So apparently Squirrel's going to be the main returner. Do you think we see those two guys that he mentioned as the returners on kickoff return?
I think kick return will be Boo and Deshaun Bishop. They're not gonna want Squirrel to get hit as much as he would if he was returning punts and kicks as well as playing on offense. So I think kick return will be Boo and Deshaun Bishop, and Squirrel will handle punts.
I think that's a great prediction. I really do. I think that's a good call. Mississippi Vol said, "Sorry, I misspelled Rustin earlier." Hey, no problem, man. we knew what you meant. He said, "My fingers." I'm sure that's not the first time Rustin's ever seen that in his life.
Every day.
He said, "My fingers got happy and I hit the eye instead." Seriously, I thought it was an interesting decision to go with Smoky Grace for the first game. Absolutely. Mr. Osborne, welcome, buddy. He said, "Good evening, Vol Bros and fellow Vols fans. Good to see you." So that's the fun side of special teams. Now I guess the kicking part's fun too. If you're scoring points, it's fun. It's always entertaining to see Jackson Ross pick which foot he's going to kick it off of. Seriously, how many? Okay, ambidextrous means you use both hands. Does that also apply to feet, or is there a different word for using both feet? I really have no idea. Ambifoosterous?
Amphibious.
There you go. So is there any doubt that Jackson Ross?
Oh, there is a word. It's ambipedal.
That makes sense because the feet part. Yeah, that makes sense. Ambipedal. So is it possible that we have the only ambipedal? I'm going to say that like all the time now.
Yeah, we're going to use that a lot.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Is it possible that Tennessee has the only ambipedal punter? That's just fun to say. In the country. What do you think?
The only one I saw this past year, as they bring in more and more guys from the rugby leagues in Australia, it'll probably become more common, but he was the only one I saw this past year.
So the backup punter is Josh Turbyville. Do you think Josh Turbyville punts a single punt the entire year?
Nope.
Sorry, Josh.
That's the beauty of having a punter that's ambipedal. Even if he gets one leg hurt, he's still got the other one.
That's true.
Like technically, Turbyville's third on the depth chart. He's behind Ross's right leg and his left leg. I really wish UT, when they put out the first depth chart, it would say Jackson Ross, parentheses R, number 2, Jackson Ross, parentheses L, and then Turbyville third.
Or if it said number 1, Jackson Ross, right foot, and then or number 2, Jackson Ross, left foot.
Yep. That needs to happen.
Rebecca liked that too. Good to see you, Rebecca. We're glad with you.
Heupel's got a real dry sense of humor. That would be the kind of thing he would do, especially as much as he loves to do that on his depth charts. Like that would be perfect for him.
Or makes more appearances on the Tennessee depth chart than maybe any single player.
Yeah.
Louisiana Vol said, "Hey, Vol Bros. Good to see you, Louisiana Vol. Glad you're with us." James said, "I was going to say maybe wear orange against NC State, but I think we are the away team." Oh, yeah, I get that. It'll be interesting to see what they do. One year they did when we played them back in the Chick-fil-A Bowl, it was red on orange, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think both teams got to wear home jerseys.
Yeah. It'd be nice to see them go with the white jersey and the orange pants for that one, just to create that contrast with NC State's colors.
Yeah. So is there any doubt Jackson Ross is going to be starting punter?
Nope.
I totally agree. And seriously, I mean, it is legitimately possible that Tennessee has the best punter in the country. I mean, easily the most. How do you say this? The most like he's the biggest threat as a punter because you don't like legit you don't know what he's going to do like when he walks out there. A lot of guys you can kind of predict, okay, we're at this yard line in this situation, he's going to try to punt it here, he's going to do this. You can kind of read it off his foot. He typically does this when he kicks. You can't do any of that for Jackson Ross because he could walk out there one time, run 3 yards to the left and kick it off his left foot. Then the next time he could run 10 yards to the right and kick it off his right foot. Like you legitimately have no clue what the dude's going to do when he runs out there. So, I mean, unsung hero, but a major threat actually for Tennessee. It's nice to have Jackson Ross back there and enjoy it this year because I think this is the last year we're going to have him back there. So, I think he'll be gone after this. I mean, I guess he technically could come back. Oh yeah, he's a red shirt. He's got a red shirt in him.
Yeah,
so he actually has 2 years of eligibility
but
left.
he's a redshirt sophomore. He's got 2 years left.
Yep. So it's good news if you're Tennessee fans when you see him running out on the field. And we never got to see, last year Mike Ekeler was bragging about how he had the third best arm on the team, and we never got to see that. It's time. It's time for us to see it this year. Let's see here. Louisiana Vol said, how y'all feeling about Smokey's agents, Chattanooga? I'm not sure what Louisiana Vol's talking about.
I think that was supposed to be Smokey Gray against Chattanooga.
Oh, gotcha. So good question. We mentioned that at the very beginning of the show. And Rustin, did I ever ask you how you felt about it?
Yeah, I mean I think it's just a standard, or I think it's just a perspective of the way the schedule fell and how they have to map out things. I don't think they wanted to do it. I think they just kind of ran out of options. I don't love it. I think our first game should always be in orange and white. So not my favorite.
I felt the exact same way. Like I do like the smoky gray uniforms this year. I do like them. And I understand that they're probably doing it like Rustin said because they have another choice of what game, but also because of it's an in-state school with UTC. I'm sure that's why because the theme of the Smoky Grays this year is volunteer state. So I'm sure that's why they're using it for that game. But I thought, at the beginning of the show, I said, you wait 8 months to see Tennessee play. The first time you see them run through that power tee, you want to see them in orange and white. Like you just do. And so I wish they were wearing orange and white personally. Let's see, Mississippi Vol. Oh, Mino Lackey's here. Hey, welcome, Mino Lackey. Mississippi Vol said, don't get me at loving all our uniforms. My favorite has always been the orange pants with white jerseys. The all orange look would be a close second. I do like orange on orange. I do like that. Absolutely. Tony said welcome, Tony. Good to have you. He said we need to wear solid orange every time we play Bama at Neyland and have an orange out. That'd be cool. That would be cool. Herb said Ross is a weapon punting the ball. Returners don't know if it's coming off the right or left foot. He's exactly right. Yeah. I mean, literally, you can't scout the guy because he could go out and do tons of different things all game long. I mean, like, you legitimately have no clue what he's going to do. And that's a huge weapon for Tennessee because of that. Let's see here. Louisiana Vol said they do look nice, but I think we should have worn them against Mississippi State. Yeah, I agree with that, actually.
Except that's also going to be a noon game.
Yeah. Let's see. Louisiana Vol said definitely second best behind the black jerseys. Louisiana Vol said, do we have a game time for the first game?
12:45.
Yeah, it's weird. All the times are different this year. I don't know if this new deal with ESPN and ABC has changed game times, but like the kickoff is 12:45. It is really weird. Vol's time said put them in orange and white camo. Let's see. Tyler said Rustin has the stat of the century for Vol special teams. Do you know what Tyler's referring to?
Yeah, we were talking about it the other day. I've actually got it here. It actually came from Jordan Moore several months ago, and then Mike Eckler repeated it in that same press conference you were talking about. It's pretty incredible. In the last 3 years, Tennessee's punt team, want to take a shot in the dark, how many yards they've allowed in the last 3 years?
Oh, I heard him say this. It was 23.
Close, 30. In the last 3
in there
years,
somewhere.
think about that. In 3 years of punting, we have allowed 30 return yards. That's less than a yard a game.
That's incredible.
But in that same time, and this is Mike Eckler making his salary, in that same time, in that same 3 years, we have a little over 900 yards of punt returns. So we're averaging less than 1 yard a return in punt coverage, and we're averaging 300 a season. So
that's incredible.
That's called flipping the field right there.
Absolutely. And, Jackson Ross is he's part of that from last year. How many, we're talking like what, 10 yards the whole season in punt return yards last year?
Yep.
That's amazing. Absolutely incredible. Louisiana Vol said it's 11:45 in Louisiana. Hey, at least it's not 11 o'clock anymore. Tyler said one last note on the schedule. This year is super weird. First SEC home game isn't until week 7. That's a great point against Florida. Mm-hmm. That's a very good point. Yeah, there are some weird schedules like Auburn, for example. Auburn doesn't have a home game the entire month of October. They play at home in September and not again until November. There's some weird schedules this year. So our last part of the special teams preview, we got kickers, and they score us points. If people didn't think they're important, well, I invite you to think back to 2022 against Alabama. That kick, you still see it on replay over and over and over. One of the best moments in Tennessee football history. You think about, was it 2004 against Florida, or maybe it was 98 against Florida? I can't remember. The kick was wide left. Florida missed wide left. I can't remember if that was 98 or 04. No, 04 was the James or the redemption kick. So it would have had to have been 98. That was wide left. Bill said, welcome, Bill. Good to have you. He says, anybody bumped into Chase McGrath yet and bought him a drink? What a kick. Absolutely. What a kick. So kickers, man, talk about one of the toughest jobs in sports. If you make it, hey, it's what you're supposed to do. If you miss it, oh man, everybody's against you. Jenny, welcome. Jenny, she said, Max Gilbert is the guy. Great leg. Thank you, Tyler. Yep, Tyler confirmed 98 was wide left. 04 was the James Wilhoit 50-yarder redemption kick, because he had missed the extra point to tie the game, and then he makes the kick to and yeah, that's thank you, Tyler. So Jenny hit the nail on the head. Max Gilbert is the leader in the clubhouse to be the kicker, the place kicker. However,
Jenny, are you related to Max?
Well, you want to explain why you're asking? Because JT Carver's there too.
Before I answer my feelings on the kicking game, I want to know if she's related.
Oh, I got you. She said, LOL, no, I wish.
Okay, so if there is one position on this team that concerns me more than any other, it's the kicking game. Josh Turbyville is going to handle kickoffs. He'll be absolutely fine. No concern there. But the things I'm hearing from practice is Max Gilbert's the starter right now, but Josh Turbyville has been actually getting a lot of reps, as has JT Carver. If there's an outright leader in the clubhouse, everybody knows that. If you've got a couple of guys pushing for time, okay, great, you got a competition. But when coaches are naming 3 guys, that's concerning. That means they don't have confidence in any of them.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. Zach, welcome, Zach. Zach said we're going to be scoring so much. Who needs kicking? Zach said just 2 more Vol Bros until game day. Hit the like. Hey, that's a great point. That's a great point. Louisiana Vol said, well, before we do that, so hey, Mina, like you said, I hit the like on my way in. Appreciate you.
I hope Max Gilbert tears it up and wins the job outright. But that Chattanooga game and that North Carolina State game are going to be real interesting to watch.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how many guys can run out there to kick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he
Jimmy
has.
said Max has been with the number 1 since January.
He has, but coaches are talking about all 3, and my experience with coaches is they don't talk about all 3 unless they have concerns. So it's almost like the senior quarterback who always takes the reps with the ones, but there's 2 other guys standing over there that you're kind of like, I wonder if he might be better. That's what I keep hearing about Max Gilbert.
Zach said, did you say Tuberville? Is he related to Tommy? I honestly don't know.
No, Turbyville. Josh Turbyville.
Yeah, there's a Y in there. Yep, there's a Y. So let's see here. So any other last thoughts about the special teams before we move on to our next topic?
We are omitting, or you are omitting, Matthew Zelansky.
Oh, my bad. Long snapper.
None of these guys do anything well if Matthew Zelansky doesn't do his job well.
That's exactly right. And you know what? We were talking about people on the special teams that Mike Eckler was praising and gushing about. Squirrel White was one of them. Jackson Ross was one of them. And Matthew Zelansky was one of them. He said, we got the best long snapper in the country.
He's good.
So
that's probably not hyperbole. That's probably a true statement. He's the kind of guy, every once in a while there's a long snapper that sneaks into the last round of the NFL draft. He's that good. He could be in that conversation. And the beauty of him is he's a redshirt senior, so he's been there 5 years. There's nothing that's going to phase him. He's seen every pressure under the sun. I wouldn't be shocked at all if he's one of those 7th round sneak in picks in next year's draft. He's very good.
Well, because to your point, every snap on a kick, on a field goal, every snap on a punt, if it's not right where it's supposed to be, bad things happen.
Yep.
And so
timing is everything.
It's the most underappreciated position on the team. So
yep.
And
he is excellent.
It's like, unfortunately, it's like an umpire in baseball. An umpire in baseball did a great job if you never knew he was there.
Right.
And it's the same way with the long snapper. They did an awesome job if you never knew they were there. When you know they're there, it's because they snapped one over the punter's head by 15 yards or something like that. Or they rolled a ball back to the placeholder.
I can't remember which game it was last year. It was somebody in the Big Ten. You may remember who it was, but there was a long snapper that in the first half snapped 4 balls over the punter's head. And I mean,
wait, was it Northwestern?
It might have been. That was who was going through my mind at first. I was thinking it was Northwestern or Purdue. But the long snapper snapped 4 balls over the punter's head in the first half. I mean, just
that's not good.
Nightmarish stuff.
Yeah, like I said, it's a thankless job, isn't it? Jenny made a good point. She said, throwing a ball upside down through a tiny square in 1.2 seconds. That's a fair point, actually. That's a good point. Well said, Jenny. Well said. Let's see here. Some of the comments that came in. Let's see. Bill said 26 watching and only 9 likes. Hit that button, guys. Hey, we appreciate that, Bill. So Bill's on YouTube. So right now we got 30 people watching on YouTube, 23 on X, and 1 on Facebook. So whoever's on Facebook right now, appreciate you.
That's
That is
Tony.
awesome.
It's Tony Mosier.
Tony, you're the man. So we got 54 total watching. That's exciting. Let's see here. Fort Rep 1, good to see you, buddy. He said, "What's up, guys? I'm a little late, but who do we think will be returning punts and kickoffs?" And Zach said, "Is Boo on kick return?" So I'll do punt return. You do kick return, Rustin.
Sure.
So last week, Mike Eckler was put before the podium in a presser, and he was so intense, man, which was really funny about it. He was like pumped up talking about it to the media. So you just imagine what he's like behind the closed doors, you know, if he's that intense and serious. Like I thought he was just going to like jump over the thing and go tackle a media person. But while he was talking, when he was asked about punt returner, he immediately mentioned Squirrel White and just raved about Squirrel White. After Squirrel White, he mentioned Boo Carter. And then he said, which is really surprising, honestly, to me, he mentioned D Williams and how good D was last year. And he said, we're actually better this year at punt return than we were last year, which is shocking, honestly, to me, because D Williams was a threat back there last year. Rustin, who do you foresee on kick return?
Yeah, I don't see Squirrel going back there. We talked about wear and tear and, you know, how many hits he's going to take on offense, how many hits he's going to take on punt return. So I don't see them putting him back on kick return. I think that'll be Boo Carter and Deshaun Bishop. And I'll be honest, if we have Boo and Deshaun back there together, that's going to be must-see TV. Those are 2 highlight reel guys, and either one of them could burst one at any second. That's going to be crazy fun to watch.
That's a great point because, you know, last year we had obviously D Williams back there, and then you also had Cam Seldon. And everybody knew who was getting the ball. It was going to be D Williams. But with Deshaun and Boo, you got very similar dudes back there. Both of them are very explosive and dynamic. So you can't like intentionally pick one to kick it to. Either one of them is going to make you pay. So that would be very exciting as a Vols fan to watch. You're exactly right. Let's see here. Jenny said about Matthew Solansky, and he was a walk-on. Great point. Sean said, "What makes a long snapper good?"
Time and consistency.
If he can hit that spot over and over and over, that's all that matters. Don't snap it over their head. Don't roll it back to them. Hit the spot over and over in a quick manner. How fast he can get it back to him is very important. Tony said, JT Carver is from Martin, Tennessee, about an hour from me. Was hoping he would start, but I want the best one we have. Yeah, Carver is definitely, you know, the hometown, home state guy that everybody loves. His dad is the president at Tennessee Martin, University of Tennessee at Martin. So it's cool to have even a in-state, you know, in university network guy on the team. That's pretty cool.
All three kickers are Tennessee kids. Max Gilbert's from Lausanne in Memphis, and Turbeville's from Knox Catholic.
Let's see.
And that's the James Wilhoit kicking school continuing to pay massive dividends for the University of Tennessee. If there's a good kicker in Tennessee, they're working with James Wilhoit, and they're coming to Tennessee.
Tyler with maybe the best comment of the night so far. He said, so we were talking about how Jackson Ross is a ambipedal kicker because he kicks with both feet. And Tyler said, people need to start ambi-liking, it sounds like. I like that. That's good.
And
hey,
we
Tony
and we did not make up that word. That is an actual word for being able to use both feet equally. And we're going to start using it like crazy.
All the time. I walk ambipedally. Tony said, y'all think Peyton Lewis might return kicks. He's our fastest player. So this is a very intriguing thing, and I'm glad Tony mentioned this because this information came out after the last time we were live. So, and then another one came out that I want to mention real quick too. So they were asking the players who the fastest guy on the team was, and people were saying Squirrel, that kind of stuff. One person said Dante Thornton, and then all of them, when they realized, oh, it's Peyton Lewis, they were all like, oh, like that, and they all were like, yeah, okay, and they all agreed, like, yeah, I can see that. He's rated the fastest player on the team in college football 25, and it was cool to see all of them respond like, oh, that makes sense, because that verifies that, yeah, he actually is like one of the fastest guys on the team. So that was very intriguing, very intriguing. And I think, you know what, Tony, I think they might put Boo and Deshaun back there to start with, but I would not be shocked if in the second half, especially the fourth quarter of those 4 games we've mentioned, UTC, Kent State, UTEP. Who's the fourth one, Rustin?
Vanderbilt.
I love that every time. And he's right. It's Vanderbilt.
That's the fourth gimme.
Exactly. Wouldn't be shocked if we might see Peyton back there returning some. Absolutely.
Yeah, I could see it. I could see it in mop-up duty. I don't see it when it matters. Mike Eckler likes guys that are, as he calls it, a fart in a skillet. Peyton Lewis is a straight line. Yeah, Peyton Lewis is a straight line speed guy. Boo and Deshaun make people miss. They're shifty. They're hard to tackle. That's more what Mike Eckler likes.
That is the best description of Boo Carter with the ball in his hands. He makes people miss. Some of the cuts he can make with the ball in his hand, y'all, it's fun to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, you go watch like last year when he was playing for Bradley Central High School, you go watch his game against Maryville, and he had a punt return in that game for a touchdown where, I mean, he probably made 9 of the 11 dudes on the field miss. It was awesome. It was awesome. Let's see here. Zach said, can you see it? Boo return a kick for a touchdown, then gets a few tackles for loss in just a few plays. That'd be cool. Let's see here. Mississippi all said, man, I tell you what, I can't wait to see this Deshaun Bishop feller in action. Absolutely.
I have seen him live on multiple occasions, and I can tell you, I think it was his junior year. Carnes was playing. I think it was his junior year. Carnes was playing Oak Ridge. Oak Ridge was loaded. They just had tons of talent, top to bottom. And Deshaun Bishop basically beat them by himself. He had something like 300 plus yards rushing, 4 touchdowns, was just untackleable. And with a on a very average Carnes team. Like when I say he beat Oak Ridge by himself, like anybody who watched that game will tell you, yeah, it was him versus them. And he won. He's special, and people are going to learn if he can stay healthy. People are going to learn just how special he can be this year.
Let's see here. Mino, like he said, going to be a fun year. Absolutely. Zach said, be honest, who's watching this weekend? And if so, what games are you watching?
Midnight Eastern, Saturday night, the Rainbow Warriors of Hawaii against the Fighting Hornets of Delaware State.
Mino Lackey's with you. She's with you. I mean, I'll probably turn on the Florida State Georgia Tech game just because it's in Ireland, just to see it for a minute, but I'm probably not going to watch the whole thing. Let's see. Mino Lackey said, hit that and be like button. That's exactly right. Zach said 10 of you are Alabama fans because you haven't hit the like button yet. Big Orange, welcome, buddy. He said, what's up, Vol Bros? It's almost football time in Tennessee. Absolutely it is. Mississippi also, that's amazing, right? When you were talking about Deshaun Bishop, he said, sounds like we have a real weapon in the backfield. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing we keep talking about. We are deep in the backfield room. And people just don't know it yet because Cam Seldon and Deshaun Bishop and apparently Peyton Lewis. I mean, like people just haven't seen him carrying the ball yet. We got some dudes back there.
Go back and watch Josh Heupel's last 10 press conferences. I bet in 7 or 8 of them, the first person he names is Deshaun Bishop.
Yes.
I mean, the man never stops talking about him.
You're exactly right. And I mean, that says something, right? I mean, like that says something if he's the guy who keeps coming to his mind. Let's see. So Tony, welcome. He said, how much are we favored against Chattanooga? Haven't heard yet. So I just tried to look it up on ESPN. They don't have it on there. Which means
those lines won't be out yet.
ESPN has any game that's going to be somewhat close. ESPN has it on their schedule on their website, but that one's not on there, which means that it's not even close. Tyler. I like it. Tyler said Georgia Tech and Haynes King in an upset special in Ireland against Florida State. Hey, if you haven't seen, it just came out probably maybe less than 2 hours ago. Josh Mancuso released a video of Georgia Tech versus Florida State. It's hilarious. It's very good. So you'll want to go watch that. Not right now. Wait till we're done. but then go check it out. It's really good. Monica, welcome. Good to see you. Glad you're with us. Let's see. Zach said people are still not taking this Tennessee team seriously. How are we only preseason number 15? I get that. That's a fair question. Hey, the Oklahoma game, that's their time to let people know. That's their time. So, having said that,
I think it's a good thing. I think you don't want to be a front runner early in the season.
Rat poison.
Yeah, you want to hover between 10 and 15 till about mid-season, then win a few key games late, push yourself into the top, 8 or so. That'll guarantee you a playoff spot. Unless we just come out like world beaters and destroy everybody, I don't want to be like number 11 or 10 or 9 right now. Let's stay off people's radar.
Tyler makes a great point. He said 22 was unranked to start the season. That's a good point. I think they were number 27 preseason, I think.
Something like that.
And then let's see. Zach said, how do we feel about the new smoky gray uniforms? So we mentioned this earlier. We personally, I like the uniforms themselves. I do. Mm-hmm. I just wish it wasn't the first game of the season. And the reason I say that is because you wait 8 months to see Tennessee play. The first time you see them running through that power tee coming out of that tunnel, you want to see that orange and white coming out. But it's not going to be that way this year. I assume it's because, Rustin made a good point. When you look at the whole schedule, there's not many opportunities to wear smoky gray. And so since it's the Volunteer State themed uniform this year, that's what they're calling it. They're calling it the Volunteer State Smoky Grays. So since it's an in-state school, I'm assuming that's why it ended up being this game.
Yep.
Mino Laggy said, I'm going to attempt to make a Go Big Orange checkerboard cake. I think we're going to need to see a photo of it after it's done. If you can post that photo on Twitter, that we'll definitely check it out. Mino Laggy on Twitter is it Leroy Newton or Newton Leroy? I can't remember. I think it's Newton Leroy. Let's see. Robert said, welcome, Robert. Good to have you. He said, doesn't matter where you start in the AP poll, it's where you finish. Go Vols. Totally agree.
Amen.
100%. 100%. Oh, Zach, I don't think so, buddy. No. Zach said dark mode versus Alabama. I'm betting on it.
No way.
So Danny White mentioned 2 years ago that Tennessee will always wear their traditional uniform against traditional rivals. None more so than Alabama. And so we will always see orange and white against Alabama. Danny has made that very, very clear. Tony said he thinks we're ranked about where we should be right now. Zach said he just wants the cake. He's pumped about the checkerboard cake. And like he said, she'll post a photo of it. That's what I'm talking about. So with all that said, I'm going to share my screen here. This is, in my humble opinion, very Not controversial for Tennessee fans, but it puts Tennessee fans in a conundrum position because honestly, I don't know how I feel about this. So multiple times, Rustin and I have said over the last, I don't know what, it's 8 months.
At
We've
least.
said, yeah. I mean, we've been saying, how are they going to break the tie? If there are 2 or 3 teams or more that are all tied with the same record at the end of the season for second place, how are they going to break the tie? And then to make it even more intriguing, when we did our season prediction show for all the SEC teams, Rustin had 3 teams tied with the same record for number 2. That's right. I had 4 teams tied for the same record in the 2 spot. And what made it even more difficult was the 3 teams he had and the 4 teams I had, none of them played each other. Like during the season, none of them played each other. And so that was the potential scenario that we've been talking about for a while now. And we said, what's going to happen if that does play out that way? How are they going to break the tie? Well, 2 days ago, actually, no, it was yesterday.
Yeah, it was yesterday.
Yesterday, the SEC finally released what's going to happen, what's going to be the tiebreaker. So, first tiebreaker, as it should be, is head-to-head competition. So if teams are if let's just say it's two teams, if 2 teams are tied head-to-head, who wins, they get to move on. Right? Well, what if there is no head-to-head matchup? Which, like I said, in both Rustin and my scenarios, there wasn't, and that was between 3 teams and 4 teams. I don't think any of the 4 of mine played each other either. Maybe one did, but I don't think so. I know Rustin's, all 3 of his, none of them played each other, and at least 3 of mine didn't. So then you got to go to letter B. Letter B says it's the team's records versus all common conference opponents among the tied teams. Okay.
Which is just a really weird thing to say.
Yes, agreed. So if like, let's say Arkansas played, well, Arkansas is not going to beat either of the teams who would have been in that situation. This is not going to be an issue, because let's say, like,
if they're all 11-1, there's real high odds that they all beat the same people.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Thank you. So letter B probably isn't going to matter. Letter C could matter. It says it's the team's records against the highest placed common conference opponent in conference standings and proceeding through the conference standings among the tied teams. The only way this would matter, based on all the teams that we have, is who beats Georgia. That's the only way this matters, because Georgia would be that highest placed team. But here's the thing. In both of our scenarios that Rustin and I both said, Georgia went undefeated. We're both predicting going undefeated. So then it's like, okay, well, who beat Texas? Well, but Texas and Alabama, they'll play each other. So they're going to take, and Georgia plays Alabama. So that's going to take care of itself. So that won't matter. The letter C probably isn't going to be the determining factor. What do you think?
So then we go to letter D, which is how many points did you allow on the 3rd Saturday of each month when there's a full moon? I mean, the whole thing is just stupid. I think that this entire list is progressively more and more confusing. And I think they did it intentionally so that everybody will go, after a year of this, everybody will go, this is stupid. Just cancel the SEC championship. It doesn't matter anyway. I think this is the SEC's way of trying to get the general public to agree that the SEC championship needs to stop so that they can focus on the playoffs.
Well, I tell you what. So the 2 teams that for that letter C, the 2 teams that are going to impact that are Texas and Alabama. Alabama, that's going to take care of itself because they're going to lose potentially 3 games: Texas, Georgia, and Tennessee. So that's probably just going to take it. Or does Alabama play Oklahoma? I can't remember. I think they play Texas. So that's probably going to take care of Alabama. But then you get to Texas, and who plays Texas? That's what may end up determining that letter C against the same, common conference opponents, highest placed. But if memory serves correctly, Alabama has to play Ole Miss, Georgia, and Tennessee. So there's 3 teams that could be competing definitely for number 1 with Georgia, but maybe for number 2 as well, depending on what happens with Texas. And so then the one common opponent among all those teams, the highest placed common opponent would be Alabama. And so then what did they do against Alabama? Well, probably there's potential all 3 might beat them. Okay. I can't remember. Alabama plays either Ole Miss or Texas, I think. I can't remember. So really, I think personally, the thing that's going to determine what ends up happening is letter D. Cumulative conference winning percentage of all conference opponents among the tied teams. And this is maybe the most frustrating way to break the tie. Because now the tiebreaker has completely been removed from your hands. You're no longer looking at what you did as a team. You're looking at what all the other teams you played did as a team against all their opponents. It is completely out of your hands at that point. And I hate that. But that's probably going to be what ends up breaking the tie. Now, that's when you got to stop and think about, well, that's not good for Tennessee. Because Tennessee has Vanderbilt on their schedule. Tennessee has Mississippi State on their schedule. And when you think about those teams, their conference winning percentage is not going to be high. So if we are averaging, essentially, because it's cumulative conference winning percentage, so it's an average winning percentage of all your conference opponents against their conference opponents. If you're averaging all those together, that negatively impacts Tennessee. That will not help them. That's not good. Now, is it good that they have Mississippi State and Vanderbilt on their schedule to get fairly easy wins? Yes, that's great. Pad that win column. But if it gets to this point and letter D comes into play of the tiebreaker, it's not going to go past this one, by the way. There's no way 2 or 3 teams are going to have the same, their SEC opponents winning percentage against their opponents is going to be the exact same. There's no way that's going to happen. Like the conference winning percentage. So if by some chance it did, then it goes to capped relative total scoring margin versus all conference opponents. And then after that, it's a random draw. It's not going to get that far.
My favorite one is letter F, honestly, because I can just envision Greg Sankey standing there with a just means more SEC trucker hat, tossing Georgia, Alabama, and Texas into a hat, and then shuffling around and pulling out a piece of paper. Oh, it's Bama. My favorite part also is the paragraph underneath that says, if basically there's 2 teams tied for first, they're going to go through this whole progression until they get to the end. Well, if both of those teams are 12-0, then it goes straight to letter F, and we're just blind drawing to see who the home team is. But
yeah,
here's what I love about this, and this is where absolute chaos could ensue. If you read that last paragraph, it only really refers to if 2 teams are tied for first. This year, there is a possibility, if everybody cannibalizes each other, you could have a scenario where Georgia, Alabama, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and there was one other, Texas, are all 11-1.
And maybe Missouri.
Yeah, that's possible too, because their schedule's terrible.
It's the easiest schedule in the league.
So what happens if there's a 6-way tie for first place? Because none of
Yeah.
this works. They're going to get to letter F, and they're going to blind draw who the two teams are in the SEC championship.
I mean, it could get caught at letter D if conference winning percentage among their opponents or something like that, but it very well could get to letter F.
You might weed out a couple of them at letter D.
It'll knock out a couple.
But what if there's 5?
Yeah.
You know, I'm telling you, they're doing this on purpose. So everybody will go, this is stupid. We don't even need the SEC championship. Kill it.
Some of the comments that came through, let's see. Mina, like he said, did Georgia write this up? She said, for Pete's sake, how far back in my head can I roll my eyes?
Yep.
Let's see here. Here's my thing. So this is my question, and I want people to let us know in the comments. You tell us. Let's say that letter D, the cumulative conference winning percentage of all conference opponents, let's say that is what ends up breaking a tie. My personal opinion, that does not favor Tennessee. So if it gets to if Tennessee's tied for second, and all of a sudden Mississippi State's conference performance and Vanderbilt's conference performance is now hurting our chances to get to the SEC championship game, which is exactly what letter D is saying here, the cumulative conference winning percentage of all conference opponents. If that hurts our chances, which it would, to get to the SEC championship game, here's my question for everybody in the comments. In that situation, is that a good thing for Tennessee or a bad thing? Is it a good thing that we do get to make it to the SEC championship game? And if we're 11-1 going to that and we lose that, now we're 11-2. Is it okay because we played in the SEC championship game, so we still maybe get in the playoff? Or if there's 3 other teams at 11-1 and somebody is now 13-0, so you have 4 SEC teams right there at 13-0, 11-1, and us at 11-2, does that hurt our chances of getting into the playoff? So in that situation, would it actually help us getting into the playoff if we didn't have to play in the SEC championship game? That's my question for everybody in the comments. You let me know. Do you think it helps us to not play in the SEC championship game if letter D hurts us and goes against us because of our conference opponents like Mississippi State? And hey, let's be serious. Florida, that's going to hurt us this year because their schedule is so crazy tough. Having Florida as a conference opponent is going to hurt us this year and for the cumulative conference winning percentage. So is that a good thing for Tennessee or is that a bad thing for Tennessee? Do we want to play in the SEC championship game in that situation, or do we not want to play in the SEC championship game in that situation? That's my question for you. Zach said just win and everyone's chasing you. I agree for sure. That's the best case scenario. Let's see. Wes, welcome, Wes. So Wes is, I think, referring to who Herb was talking about earlier. Potential commitment tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Defensive back, right? And then a defensive back. I could be wrong. I think it's a defensive back though.
I'm hearing that's a no. I'll be surprised if we get him, but you never know. Kids are kids. Things happen.
Elijah said, "What's up, bros? A little late. Good to have you, Elijah." Zach said he thinks if it comes to that, who cares? We still will be able to make it to the college football playoff. So even if we go to the SEC championship game and lose, he thinks we're still in. Mississippi Vol, this is a great point.
Mm-hmm.
He said the people who met in a conference room and made this stuff up have a lot of time on their hands. And, and I want to elaborate on that because that's a really good point. Think about this. They have had since, well, really 2 years, because it was 2 years ago now that it was announced that Texas and Oklahoma would be moving to the SEC. So they've known for 2 years that this was coming. Think about this. They've now had 2 years of SEC coaches meetings in the spring to discuss all this. And yet they waited until the month before kickoff to announce this because they could not come up with anything better than this.
This is a meeting that I never want to attend. Like, however long it took to come up with this, and whoever was in that room, oof, you couldn't pay me enough to sit through this meeting.
Absolutely. Tyler maybe just made the best point of the night. He said, I would rather not play in it, but that's just me. Ask Georgia if they regret having to meet Alabama last year in Atlanta. 100% accurate.
It's a meaningless game. I'll die on this hill. It's a meaningless game that hurts the conference. Like, they need to get rid of it. It's not. There is nothing positive that comes from this game.
Elijah said, if we were 11-1 and we didn't have to play in the championship game, that would be the best case scenario because we'd be a lock for the playoffs instead of being 11-2.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Actually, I mean, if you lose that second game, all of a sudden, like, well, I don't know, especially like in my scenario, for example, I had Georgia going 12-0. So that's one SEC team. And then I had Tennessee, Missouri, Ole Miss, and Texas all tied at 11-1. Okay, if that's 5 total teams, you already know there has to be Big Ten champion, ACC champion, Big 12 champion.
Random group of 5.
Exactly. So that's 9. There's only 3 more spots. So you figure like the Big Ten runner-up. I mean, they're not going to be like, okay, let's keep putting SEC teams in and only have one from all the other. The Big Ten runner-up's going to be in there. Probably the well, maybe not the Big 12 runner-up, but the ACC runner-up's going to be in there.
Yep.
I mean, listen, we know right now there's 3 teams from the Big Ten that are getting in: Ohio State, Michigan, and Oregon. Those 3 teams will be in the playoff. Even if Michigan is a 2-loss team, they're still going to put them in there. So really, it's hard to envision them if there is a 2-loss team from the SEC. You don't want there to be any question like, I don't know now. You'd rather be like, hey, we're a 1-loss team from the SEC. We're in. Like, that's what you want. And so I agree with that. Let's see here. Mina, like you said, just get rid of it. It isn't necessary now that we don't have East and West. She's talking about the championship game. Yeah, agreed.
And, the argument I keep hearing is, well, but we make so much money off of it. You cannot convince me that having an extra team in the college football playoff and the royalty checks that would come from that would not easily make up for that game. Like, there's no way. That's going to be the most sponsored playoffs in the history of college football. There will be so much money flowing through that thing. The royalty checks will be obscene.
And if you eliminate that conference championship game, it gives all of your teams a week off to rest for the college football playoff. Zach said we have to see how Michigan does without everyone's playbooks.
They're probably going to go back to being a 9-3 annual team like they were before they started stealing signs.
I like that, Zach. That was a good one, man. I like that. Zach likes the game because of the tradition of it. I get that. Rustin and I were actually at the very first SEC championship game.
It's only 26 years old. It's not that much of a tradition.
It was at Legion Field. It was Alabama against Florida. I remember going to that with our family. That was a fun time. I guess
that was what, 96?
92.
Oh, okay. So it's older than I said. It's what, 32 years old? Yeah. This will be the 32nd one.
Yeah. Yep. Mr. Osborne said, so just go back to what I grew up with: regular season champion and conference co-champions. I mean,
yep,
maybe pretty soon, actually. I mean, okay. We haven't said something that really could impact this. If the ACC continues to implode and cannibalize itself in meetings behind closed doors. If the ACC goes by the wayside in 3 years, which I
Or
don't think
one.
that's yeah, I don't think 3 years is unreasonable at all. I mean, like that legit could happen.
I'll be shocked if the ACC still exists in 3 years.
So if that were to happen, now you have all of these teams that are going to be moving into the SEC, the Big 12, the Big 10, which are funny that those conferences have numbers and
Yeah.
they're like way
Some
past
names are
200.
going to have to be changed.
Yeah. If that were the case, how in the world could you have a conference championship game? If there's like 20 to 22 teams in your conference, how in the world could you have a conference championship game? There's no way. There's too many teams. There's no way you could get the two best teams in your conference in that game. There's no, it would be impossible. You could go down all the way to letter F, all the way down to W on this thing if there was a W, and you still wouldn't have a great method of picking the best teams.
Well, or I mean, call me crazy, but we could just eliminate all the conference championship games in all the 3 remaining conferences, and crazy thought, do a 16-team playoff, kind of like the FCS does every single year,
For
and
the last decades.
and it has worked out just fine for them. So we kind of have a template for how it can work out. So, go to 3 mega conferences, kick the crappy group of 5 out that doesn't need to be there anyway, and choose the top 16 teams and put them in a 16-team playoff. You can still have all your bowl games. They'll make more money because there'll be more meaningful bowls. Like, it helps everybody.
Yep. Like he said, how many meetings before they finally came up with this plan? Well, yeah, that's a good question. I mean, 2 years. They had 2 years to come up with something. 2 years. And this is the best they came up with. Tyler said in 92 he was negative 3 years old at that time. She liked your take on everything there. Bill said, I see no purpose for the SEC championship game other than for monetary reasons.
And I'm totally telling you, that's got to be replaceable. There's no way that playoff, if there was one more team in that playoff, there's no way the royalty checks wouldn't easily cover the SEC championship.
But Bill, you're exactly right. That is the reason why there's an SEC championship game. Even like when Cole Kubelik was asked about this last year, he was asked this very question, like, do you see the SEC championship game ever being removed? He said no, because there's just too much money in it. And I mean, like, that is the only reason why it's happening. It's all about money. Like he said, there you go. Your solution to the 16-team playoff. That's the key right there. Tyler said, and with the FCS playoffs, no one is ever disgruntled about who is in and who ultimately wins the national championship. That's a really good point. You don't hear.
They all know what the rankings are going to be. Like, it doesn't really change. The AP poll for the FCS dictates pretty much everything. And so they all kind of know, hey, we're the 3 seed. We finished 3rd in the regular season. It's not complicated.
Mr. Osborne agrees. He said, very good idea, do a 16-team playoff. And okay, so here's one thing that Rustin in this idea that we haven't said. If they stick it to 12 games or 12 teams and they remove the conference championship week, yes, that gives everybody a week's worth of rest, which is good at that point in the season, in my opinion. But if they want to keep making that money instead of conference championship games, you just plug in that week right there of an extra playoff week, and you have 16 teams in the playoff, and you're still making money that week too. So,
can you imagine that first Saturday of the playoffs, there would be 8 games. They could split them between ABC and ESPN, have a game at 12, 4, 8, whatever, however they want to break it out, even have, even a West Coast game, an 11 o'clock game on both channels, or even bring in ESPN2 and have, a 12, a 4, and an 8 CBS on multiple channels. The amount of money they would make on those TV ratings and the amount of people who would be just glued to their screens that whole day, the ad sales alone would be through the roof.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For sure. For sure. Zach said, I thought it was longer than 32 years, so it's younger than Zach is. Yep, absolutely. Tyler made a good point. He said it's also just silly because Georgia had one bad week. It ruined their entire season where they dominated just about everyone.
Yep.
It hurts more than it helps on a lot of fronts. So Tyler's referencing the SEC championship game. Georgia had one bad week in the SEC championship game after running the table up until that point.
Yep.
In that one bad week, which really wasn't that bad of a week. And they lose one game and they're done after a season's worth of really good play. And yeah, I agree. Zach said he still wants the SEC championship game because there's more SEC football. Well,
Zach,
I think we'll get to.
Zach, what if there were 2 extra SEC teams that got in the playoffs and it was a 16-team playoff and that first Saturday, instead of some lousy SEC championship that doesn't matter, there were 2 more SEC teams fighting in games that actually mattered? I'd rather have that.
I mean, let's just take this year for kicks. Okay. At the end of this season, I think it is very safe to say that the SEC will have Georgia, Tennessee, Missouri, Texas, Ole Miss, Alabama, maybe LSU. Anybody else I'm forgetting that would be in the top 16?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Potentially Oklahoma, depending on how they do. Maybe.
I'm not feeling that one.
but at least those 8, right? So half of the playoff would be SEC teams. I mean, like it'd be like the College World Series.
Yeah.
Like that's what you want. Half the field would be SEC teams. That would be good. Zach said he's cool with that. He's cool with that scenario. Tyler said we all know Rustin's 7-5 on OU.
Watch. I'm telling you, Brent Venables is going to be on the hot seat by the end of the year.
Mr. Osborne said, I think the larger the playoff with more teams involved, that helps Tennessee. It would certainly help Tennessee get into the playoff more frequently.
100%. And it helps teams like Ole Miss and Missouri as well. You know, those fringe teams that, you know, are right outside the top 12, but maybe kind of deserve to be there. With a 16-team playoff, they're in.
Well, and you know, we keep saying Missouri right now because if everybody goes back and watches that video on when we predicted Missouri's schedule, Missouri has by far and away the easiest schedule of any SEC team.
Yep.
It is, I mean, it's the first half of their season. It's like laughable. I mean, it's bad. And so the only team they play really is Alabama. I mean, it's way too easy of a schedule.
I don't know. That week 2, week 3 combo of strawberry shortcake and the Care Bears is a pretty rough spread for them.
Hey, them Care Bears don't play.
Mm-hmm.
They don't play no games.
Yep.
Let's see here. Zach said it's already that way in the old college football playoff, 2 or 3 SEC teams every year. Yeah, half the field. Yeah, you're right. That's exactly right.
I'm saying in a 16-team playoff, it would be at least 4, maybe 5 SEC teams in every year, which is more literal to reality.
Especially this season.
Mr. Osborne just made a really good point.
He said, I wish we had a 16-team playoff in 85, 87, 89, 90, and 92. Yep, that's a good point. Tennessee would have been playing for a national championship all those years. Because, I mean, literally, that's what it comes down to. It's these teams right now, 4 teams get to play for a national championship. This year it's going to be 12. 12 teams get to play for a national championship, one of which has no business being there. It'll be whoever the highest ranked group of 6 team is. Last year it was Liberty, and they got waxed by Oregon in their playoff game, or in their New Year's game. So whoever that ends up being this year, they're just going to get waxed again.
Think about it this way. If I play a 12-game regular season, then I have to play an SEC championship. Now I'm at 13. And it's possible I may have to play 3 games in the playoffs, depending on how those rankings fall. So now I'm at 16 games. If we ditch all of that and go to a 16-team playoff, I play 12 regular season games, and then I got to win 4 games to win a national championship. I'm still at 16 games. But the last 4 games all matter. They all make major money for everybody involved. I'm not playing any more than I would have in a normal situation that we currently have. So why not go to that?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, because if you lose, you're exactly right. If you lose the SEC championship game, then you don't get the first round bye. So you have to play 3 games in the college football playoff. Yep. Zach said Tennessee should be in the playoff for years to come. I hope so. But man, there's a lot of, really to be comfortable with your chances of getting in, you can only lose 1 game. If you lose 2 games, all of a sudden you're on the bubble. And so, and Zach, I get it. He said we have Nico now, and we have a pipeline of quarterbacks coming through. I get that. But there's 22 dudes out on that field. More than that, even when you consider special teams.
And Zach, the George McIntyre hate there is pretty strong. Like, you just skip right over him.
But it's you can't lose more than 1 game and feel confident about your ability to get in the playoff if it's only 12 teams. Because, like I said, that's not a good way of saying it. That's not it. It's really only 7 teams, 8 teams. No, 7.
Yeah.
Because 4 automatic qualifiers, the 4 conference champions. 1 is the group of 6. So you got 7 spots. That's it. But I don't know, if you lose more than 1 game, you're really on the bubble really fast. Mr. Osborne said this all 12-team playoff is going to be very political on the last few teams that get in. Oh, for sure.
Amen. Do you know who they're predicting the group of 5 team is going to be this year?
He said a deserving team will be left out. 100%. Yeah.
Do you know who they're predicting?
Is it Tulane?
No. A 10-2 Boise State team. If that ends up being the case, how wrong is that if you've got an 11-1 SEC team that gets left out so they can take a 10-2 Boise State? And the 2
going to
get
drilled.
Yeah, and the 2 losses are probably going to be Oregon and Oregon State. So how on earth is that appropriate? I mean, it makes 0 sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And sadly, that's the situation we find ourselves in right now. So I'm going to go back to what Mr. Osborne said. He said a deserving team will be left out. Well, I 100% agree.
Or 3 or 4.
I mean, at least 1, right? Because there's going to be there is 1 spot reserved for the highest ranked group of 6 school. Listen, whoever that is, they're not going to beat whoever the actual 12th ranked team in the country is. They're not going to beat them.
Yeah.
And so whoever can you imagine? Okay, instead of 1 being the loneliest number, 12 is going to be the loneliest number on that college football that last Sunday afternoon when they're revealing the college football playoff rankings. You're going to hate to see your name be at the number 12 line, because if you're that team, you're out. You're not in. because that highest ranked group of six school is going to be taking your spot. How frustrating would that be if to see your name on the 12 line, number 12 beside it? It's going to be horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Bill said he thinks George McIntyre will end up being a Heisman winner. The guy has talent. He's a 5-star quarterback for sure.
If he can stay healthy, he's got to put on some mass. He's definitely got the arm talent, though. That kid can sling it.
Zach said, just kidding. I think he'll be good. He absolutely. Like he said, yikes. If you're that 12 team, that's not a fun spot to be in. Tyler said it's bad enough that they get in. It's another thing that they're the away team visiting some powerhouse. Yeah, absolutely. Because Tyler's exactly right. In that scenario, they would be playing on the first weekend of the playoff, which the first weekend of the playoff is home games, like, at home, the higher seeded team's home stadium. So yeah, like that it's unfortunate. Well, so our last thing we're going to talk about tonight, and I'm very excited about this. We did this last year. I'm super excited to do it again this year. So on our website right now, thevolbros.com, where you can just go volbros.com. Like you said, this is so typical. Looking at a great year, and now this conundrum. Yep. We just can't lose more than one game. That's the bottom line. We just can't lose more than one. So we do a college football pick'em challenge every year, and I'm so excited about this. This is going to be a blast. Each week we'll pick the 10 best games of that week, and we'll everybody who joins can pick those 10 games with us. It is only $5 to join, and if you win the thing, you get a $50 Alumni Hall gift card. All you have to do is go to our website, click on contest. The direct link is thevolbros.com/contest. And I'm posting that in the comments right now so that you will see that on Facebook and on YouTube. If you are watching with us on X, which many of you are right now, I will post that in the comments beneath this live stream. So I just did that right there. That is the direct link to the page that you see on the screen right now. And all you have to do to register is click on register here. I'll come back to that in a moment. Here are the first week's games. And just to prove that this was actually legit last year too, we did it last year. Milton has a cannon, won last year. He finished the season 93-37. I was so close. I was only 3 games off. I was 90-40. So we picked 10 best games each week. Tyler said $5. Please pay this price and please pay no more. I like it. Well played, sir. So in order to join, all you got to do is click on register here, and this form will pop up, and you just give us your first name, last name, the email address you'd like us to send the results to and the picks to each week. You get to pick a team name. All I ask, because it makes life easier on me, is if please use the same team name each week so I know whose picks are whose. And then you just click right here that you understand that there's a $5 entry fee. The winner gets $50 or $50 gift card. You can go back and watch last year. We did send the guy a $50 gift card and won. To give us that $5 entry fee, there's 3 ways you can do that. You can do it by doing a $5 super chat on this video right now. Or if you come back and you see this another time, you can do a $5 super thanks. That's one way of doing it. Back on our website, at the bottom of the page, there is a donate button right here. You can click right there and give us $5 via PayPal. If you would rather use Venmo, email us at thevolbros.com, or excuse me, I don't have a little here. I'll make one real quick. You can email us at thevolbros@gmail.com. Ta-da! The power of technology. You can email us there at thevolbros@gmail.com, and I will send you a Venmo, my personal Venmo account that you can put $5 towards that. But that's all it costs, just $5 to enter. And if you win, you get $50 Alumni Hall gift card. So pretty good return on investment there. The week 1 games this year, and I'm going to go ahead and say this now because the picks are due before they normally would be due because there's a Thursday game in this group. Here's the thing. Week 1, typically there's not 10 awesome games. That very much applies this year. There's 4 or 5 really good games and then 5 or 6 that are like, yeah. And so the first game this year is next that we're picking is next Thursday. It's North Carolina at Minnesota. Then you've got Friday is TCU at Stanford. And then the Saturday games, which would be next Saturday, August the 31st, you got Clemson against Georgia, Penn State at West Virginia, Colorado State at Texas, Miami at Florida, Notre Dame at Texas A&M, UCLA at Hawaii. I know I told you there weren't 10 good games this week. Wyoming at Arizona State, and USC versus LSU in Las Vegas.
Don't talk about the Rainbow Warriors like that. They're going to be 1-0 coming into that game.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So all you got to do is, like I said, you can do a $5 super chat. You can do $5 on that donate button on our website at the bottom of the page, or you can email thevolbros@gmail.com if you would prefer to do Venmo, and I can set you up that way. So because the first game this year is a week from tonight, picks are going to be due by Wednesday of next week. And then what I'll do is on Thursday, I'll send out the picks to everybody. What everybody chose, I'll send everybody a screenshot of the spreadsheet of everybody's picks so that you can see, what everyone picked. It's a way to prove that, I'm not like fudging the results. I'm really doing what I said I'd do. And it's a lot of fun, man. It is so much fun. Rustin and I both participate. Like I said, I got close to winning last year. It was only 3 games off. So what we do is we'll use the 13 weeks of the regular season. And then that way, if there is a tie, unlike how the SEC is going to be breaking ties this year, we will let what happens on the field be our tiebreaker. And so we'll use the conference championship game week as the tiebreaking, if we need that. That'll be the tiebreaking week. We didn't need it last year. It was close. If Carl watches this later, he was winning almost the whole time, and it just barely slipped away from him at the end. So we got some good games on there for next week. Clemson, Georgia, that'll be good. Miami, Florida, I'm actually very much looking forward to watching that.
UCLA, Hawaii.
Absolutely, yes. And USC, LSU is actually a Sunday game. So that'll be in Las Vegas. So some of the comments that came through, Mississippi Vol said, great show as usual, guys. Hope you have a great Friday and weekend. Hey, we really appreciate that. Okay, Minolaki, you got to let me know what you mean by that one. She said, Rainbow Warriors, weren't they a NASCAR team? Yeah. I don't know about the chime. Do you know what she's referring to, Rustin?
Nope.
All right, so you got to let us know, Minolaki, so we can answer that for you. So that's it. Super simple. Just sign up there. Make sure you pick, like, my team name is Volbro Evan. That's my team name. Very original. It is, I've already picked my picks for this week so that, Rustin, he doesn't get to see them until I show them on the show. I see them as they start coming in. So I always pick my games before everybody else. That way nobody can be like, he was just picking who everybody else picked. So I've already made my choices on all these. Some of them are really tough, in my opinion, to pick, but I went with what I felt like, and we'll see what ends up happening. So super excited about that. We hope you join us for that. You just have to enter by next Wednesday. That's the bottom line. Once next Wednesday comes and goes, then, it's the chime thing through online banking. I don't have that, I don't think, but we'll see. Email me and we'll figure something out. the volbros@gmail.com. We'll figure something out. She says, so I'm guessing my answer is no. Yeah. I maybe we'll see. So like I said, we would love to have you join us for this. It really is a lot of fun, and it's really fun to see how people do during the whole season. You can see how Rustin and I do during the season. We're going to have Reed Carringer on here Sunday night, and Reed's going to be giving us his season preview, what he expects each game. We're going to make sure that we get Reed involved in this as well. So Reed will be picking games too. It's a blast. But the thing is, you just have to sign up and make your picks before next Wednesday. Because once next Wednesday start, or next Thursday, the games start. So it's too late at that point. So you got a week to sign up and get in. It's going to be a blast. thevolbros.com/contest. thevolbros.com/contest. So, any last thoughts, Rustin, before we sign off for the evening?
Nope.
I so appreciate all of you joining us tonight. This has been a blast. Hey, be on the lookout. Sunday night, I'm super excited. It is our 150th episode Sunday night. We're going to celebrate by having Reed Carringer on with us. He's going to give us a game-by-game prediction that he feels like will happen this year for Tennessee. It's going to be a blast. If you're not familiar with Reed, you probably are and just didn't know it. He is one of the people who publishes Football Time in Tennessee magazine. His family are the people who publish this. It is, I'm sure, still available. I know it is because you can go on their website and order every year they've ever published. So this is this year's. It's got Nico on the cover. Just a really, really high quality. Like even the page material is really good. It's just high quality stuff, man. And it is like every Tennessee fan's playbook for the year. It is fantastic. So we're excited to have Reed on here Sunday night. We're excited to have our 150th episode. And the thing that makes it so much fun, guys, it's all of you. It's how you interact with us. It's so much fun. You are the reason that this is such a success. You're the reason why it's so much fun for us. And so we really do appreciate all of you so much who watch. It really does mean a lot to us. We got 76 people watching right now, 51 on X, 24 on Facebook, 24 on YouTube and 1 on Facebook. Tony, if that's you, man, you're the king. We appreciate you. Like you said, thanks, bros. 150. Hey, we're excited. We're excited to have Reed too. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's really cool to think we're 150 episodes in now. That's a really cool thing. So we hope all of you have a great evening. Rustin, as always, I appreciate you. It's been a lot of fun. And, like you said, she enjoyed it. So we hope all of you have a great evening. Be on the lookout tomorrow. You may or may not see some Volbros golf content on our social media tomorrow. We're going to be playing some golf in the morning, so I may have some videos on there. I'll only post positive things, so there might not be very much, especially when I'm swinging the clubs.
It's going to be very lacking.
Well, we'll post something from the course in the morning. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a good time. So we hope all of you have a great evening. Go Vols, baby.